Now, we have a few movies to get through tonight as we recap week 4 here. But I feel we should just go ahead and talk about the elephant in the room.
You want to do that first?
I want to do this first. Now, for those of you who may not have seen it, me and Gabe already we recorded a little over 2-hour video of me and him having a discussion about Halloween Ends, and I feel it was a good discussion. We're getting some good numbers on that video. Even I like it. We ended on a good note, I feel. But then after we finished the video, I think maybe 30, 40 minutes went by. You and I started messaging each other because we just couldn't stop thinking about that fucking movie. And you came to an interesting conclusion that, again, with a lot of the ways I feel about that movie, I'm like, that makes sense. And it kind of helps. I'm like, this is as close as I think we're going to get to a Ghost Watch moment. I'm not saying it correct or it fixes my personal issues with the bigger picture outside. But I thought it was an interesting point that you brought up. Oh, yeah. No, yeah, I posted that video. Well, I mean, not the the violent parts of the video, but I posted the report of that. I was like, oh, there we go. It already took shape somewhere else.
That's a bit harsh, Jess. I recommend watching.
Wow. I like that, actually. I never thought of that. She's not entirely wrong.
She's not. The Near Dark cover, though, is a Twilight cover, and that bothers me. But we'll get to that in a bit. Watch Half in the Bag, Red Letters, Halloween Ends review that they dropped today. And they did a full 20-minute analysis of the themes alone, which I haven't seen them do where they broke it down quite as intense as they did. It makes it a lot more palatable, and if you did think you noticed something in the movie but you weren't sure, you probably did notice something in the movie that was relevant.
After our conversation, now we went into detail about the involvement and themes from Christine in this at great lengths. After you posed what you had posed, I'm wondering if for next year's Horror Fest, when we do this current timeline's flow of movies, maybe throw Christine at the end, just to see. I mean, if maybe the remake will be out by next year. Who knows? Maybe not. But if it's not, throw that on just to see if it works. You know what I mean? It's interesting.
There's a lot of meat on that one, because I think that was the movie he pulled the most from. But after watching all of the references from other John Carpenter movies too that got thrown in, holy shit, it's a love letter, and we like love letters.
I will say the more I've thought about it, it's sat with me a little bit better. Like I said, I don't have a problem with the story that we got. I just think that the timing and use of that story was not done properly. Like I'm not saying give the people what they want. I mean, you can experiment within the confines of that, but I feel like I said, I'm like, this could have been something bigger than the genre itself. That was my only main thing.
The issue,
not bad. Just, well, I mean, I didn't even think it was weird. Well, I mean, it was weird at first. I'm not gonna say I didn't think it was weird the first go around, but you know.
I have thoughts on that, but I have to get them organized up here, and the Modelo is not really helping with that. But I will say this, because I was walking the dog earlier, and I was thinking about this because I knew we were gonna hit this point again. Sparrow, welcome, just in time. I don't like to generalize fandoms, even though, as we had discussed just with Vox on the line, sometimes the fandoms do get out of hand a little bit with how they feel about things. And Halloween Ends is living up to Scream 5's whole point of fandoms going ape shit, and there's a petition to reshoot the whole movie.
See, now, okay.
And that's stupid.
That's anytime that's ever brought up for any movie, I think that's ridiculous. There are so many ways to go about saying why that would never happen.
There are a lot.
My mind is like a popcorn thing going. I'm like, I could catch any one of these reasons. But
and money will be the one you catch 90% of the time.
If they're not gonna do that for Star Wars, they're not gonna they're not gonna do this for fucking Halloween.
No.
They're not, like, you got what you got. The only thing that could possibly happen, and I'm not saying that they should do this, and it would only be the decision of whoever gets the torch next to put their version or spin on things, is just do what they did with the original sequels and just retcon them. It's like they're there, but in the current, it just don't count that. That's as much as you could do. And I'm not saying that I agree that should be done on this case, but I mean, even if it just in your own mind, if you really don't like it that bad, then just don't count it in your mind.
Which you can do headcanon with whatever you want to. And
yeah.
I'm, first of all, it ain't going to get reshot because it's probably going to be profitable, and it already is with the opening weekend they had.
Well, I'm glad that you brought that up because I did want to talk about that too. But maybe you know the answer to this. I don't know. I feel like I heard this in passing. But I'm not 100%. Is it correct in them saying that they had a 3-picture deal, and that after the third one was done, the rights to everything revert back to whoever had it before they did 2018?
They revert back to Malik Akkad, the son of Mustafa Akkad, who originally bought the franchise from Irwin Yablans. So they'll get it back, but I still think they had input on it because Malik Akkad's one of the producers of it. And we already know before the movie came out that they had to reshoot the ending, which tells me one thing. Much like Dr. Sartan, a fucking producer got involved with the movie when they probably shouldn't have, and that's why you're getting such a divisive thing. But it's also a lot of the shit throwing, because I'm not even going to call it mud throwing, because at this point it is pure shit throwing at it. Halloween fans are sort of I like to do spectrums for things. So on one end you have Friday the 13th, and on the other end you have Nightmare on Elm Street. Friday the 13th fans are typically fine with the movie doing the same thing over and over again because it's consistent and you have a good time. Case in point, we do a whole marathon of them and we enjoy it because it's like pizza, baby. It's good anytime. Nightmare on Elm Street, on the other hand, they have to do something different each time. Whether it's good or bad, we definitely remember Freddy playing a video game and killing someone with it, or Welcome to Primetime, bitch, or the just overall, themes of the second one, or the original, Haunting Our Nightmares. Halloween fits into the middle there because Halloween fans, I always see it whenever a new one comes out. We don't want the same thing. We want something different. And then you get something different, but not like that. That tends to be what I see the most off of criticism from diehard Halloween fans. And that's not to put everyone in the same bucket, but from the get-go, David Gordon Green said this was not going to be the same thing. And the studio is probably to blame for that as well, because they're the ones who marketed it as the final showdown, because that puts asses in the seats. When in reality, if you didn't watch the 2 hour discussion, my cliff notes on it are, I think it's a thoughtful movie. I think it's a movie that deals with a lot of themes that horror movies typically don't deal with. And they were willing to take a risk on it with an ending movie, which, for better or worse, I think they hit the nail on the head with most of what they were trying to do, and probably would have done better if somebody hadn't stepped in and said, "Let's do that ending," or let's do this. Let's overload it with symbolism, which is fine because most people weren't paying attention to it anyway. Much like Halloween Kills, where we talked about as well, where the hospital scene, people hated it until they went back and rewatched it and realized there's a 5-second scene that changes the whole thing. So I think there's a lot on both sides here. Yeah, the movie's not perfect, but to say that it's the worst Halloween movie, I have to remind you, Kung Fu against Michael Myers. Michael Myers fathering a child with his with his niece,
which is a shame too, because I love Busta Rhymes too. Like that's the music wise, but no, you brought this up and it's true because I am guilty of this. Not particularly with this movie, but of the whole thing of like, do something different, but then when they do something different, I'm like, not like that's not what I meant, kind of thing. Yeah. But, and like I said, I did a lot of going back to the sequel trilogy of Star Wars with these 3 Halloween movies. And that was the biggest moment of me doing that. I'm not saying that like I've changed my mind on them. I haven't. But that was the thing though, where like that's really the only part of the debate that I'll ever get into with people is episode 7. Because everybody's just like, it's just exactly episode 4, A New Hope. And I'm like, but that's what it needs to be. Because I mean, again, in my opinion, what I think it needs to be, but because everything in that franchise is circular. So of course, something like that would happen again. And then plus, we haven't had anything since episode 3, really, like in terms of big screen live action. So I'm like, comfort people, like let them know it's like, hey, let's remind everybody what Star Wars is again real quick. So keep everybody safe in episode 7. It's supposed to be circular, make it that way. Do your experimentation on 8, wow us with 9. We got to 8 and I was like, holy shit, I didn't mean that. And then 9. Now, this is the key difference, though, between those Halloween movies and those is that you can very easily connect all the dots to problems with those sequel movies. The sequel trilogy of Star Wars is because it wasn't one clear vision. Multiple directors involved, of which when they brought back Abrams, he was just like, he just decided, he's like, how do I fix this shit? Instead of making a proper movie, he's just like, it's a fixer-upper. He Bob Vila'd that shit. Now, with the Halloween movie, it was the same fucking people. Now, after the initial shock of the first watch, I highly recommend watching it how we watched it. Watch the OG, and then the everything in order. Because that, like I said, once you kick that initial shock out of your mind, you're like, all right. Again, it doesn't fix the overall problem that I had with it.
Sure.
But like I said, that's not the, it has nothing to do with the story. I just thought it, like I said, I'm like, you could have done something else. But it does fit in a weird way. Like I said, I'm like, it's not the way I would have ended it, but it's not a bad ending. Like there are a lot of things that connect, it may not have been a final showdown that some people have liked. It may not. I mean, we got to the destination. It just wasn't the route that everybody wanted. You still got what you wanted out of it. It just was a different route.
Yeah.
Because, we got the showdown. evil was defeated. Like everything that we wanted out of it did happen, just in a fucked up way.
It did. And, me being the, clawing at it sort of deal with, I want some things that Halloween didn't have the courage to do before. We got the Halloween 5 thing that was supposed to happen. I'm trying to keep the spoilers to a minimum, so if you don't know what I'm talking about, don't look it up. But we got the Halloween 5 thing that they didn't have the courage to do the first time around. We got... And that's funny, because most people like the journey, didn't like the destination. I don't get it. It's all over the place. And that is to go back to my other point from when we recorded the 2-hour discussion. That's why this is following the Halloween lineage. This is Halloween 3.
Yeah.
For the new generation.
If you're looking, well,
just no Tommy Atkins.
See, this is exactly where I was just about to go with that, because I'm like, okay, only time can tell at this point. Because the decision of that cannot be made right now. But I'm sitting here thinking 10, 15 years from now, and I'm like, how am I going to look? I'm like, okay, is Corey the suitable difference as opposed to a Tommy Atkins? I'm like, that's you're putting a lot on that poor kid.
You are, but if you're a John Carpenter fan, I think you're gonna roll to that conclusion a lot faster than the casual moviegoer, and that's sort of the dangerous part of this one, is that I have, again, looking at all of the reviews that people had and siphoning through the ones where people are, Halloween bad. People who aren't Halloween fans like the movie. People who are Halloween fans like the movie. People who aren't Halloween fans hate the movie. It's just...
It's weird. It's all over the place.
It's all over the place because I think it had something that I wanted that I didn't expect. The only thing I expected was, because I told you, I didn't even watch the trailer for this. Like, I stayed off the radar for Halloween Ends, except I think I might watch the teaser for it. But I stayed off the radar for it because... Let's go back to... We wish Fox was still here. Let's go back to Metal Gear Solid 5. The New Order Elegia trailer for that made Metal Gear Solid 5 look like a horror movie. And it painted a lot of expectations for people. Calling this the final showdown when in reality, it's closer to setting up a whole new timeline again and doing some things that the franchise had attempted before but never accomplished. That's what it's doing. But if you watch the trailers, if you read the interviews, you might have had that tainted, unless you read the interview where he said Christine was a big influence. At which point, you got exactly what you wanted out of it, because, I mean, it ain't exactly subtle.
All in all, I'll say that, like I said before, if there was another one or two movies down the line still with Jamie Lee Curtis, and this was just like the next Halloween movie, perfectly fine. But having this ending and them not be the main focus, center stage, and I'm not saying that nobody should ever write Mr. John Carpenter love letters. Like we I got a couple drafts myself. That's all well and good, but maybe not here. Or you can just in a different, I don't know. Like I said, I didn't have a problem so much with the story. It's just like I said, I'm looking at the bigger picture. I was looking at the bigger picture, and that's a personal weird issue with me, but
and no, I mean you're echoing a lot of the sentiment that a lot of people had, because it's not necessarily what they wanted out of the sequel. Although, thinking about and we keep calling it a trilogy. It's not a trilogy.
Yeah,
it's a quadrilogy.
Yeah.
Which which I think causes a lot of problems with it too. But Halloween 1 or Halloween 2018 was derivative of the original. We talked about that with the font thing, that basically the movie followed the fonts to a T. It had gore, but it was suspense driven. It was a pretty tight movie. Halloween Kills, love it or hate it, I'm leaning back towards loving it now. It's a slasher sequel. The body count is absurd. The body count was so good in it that it overtook Jason, I think, which is crazy because he killed like 20 firefighters in the opening scene. So that helps pad the body count.
Right.
And then the third one is something that is entirely different than the other two. It's meant to have some finality, and in a way it does. It does leave some questions open there at the end, but for the most part, it wraps the series up with a nice little bow and says, it's not the ending that you necessarily wanted, but is it the ending that may have been needed? And I think we went back and forth with that when we did our recording because we were trying to figure out where do we feel on the Jamie Lee Curtis situation. Again, not going to spoil anything, but we had some mixed feelings on it. And I think I still do, because I woke up this morning and even was like, I don't know how I feel about that anymore. I almost called you at 8 a.m. this morning to talk about it because I didn't know. I didn't know how I feel about it. Give it I'm not going to say Halloween 3.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I thought
the acting was amazing. Like, regardless if you like the story or not, everybody's acting was phenomenal.
The character development and the story and the acting were all just top notch. But I don't know if you're going to have to wait, 30 years like Halloween 3 did for this to gain some attention. Maybe 10.
I feel like it. I would even go so far as to say 5. Like that. I definitely think, because you're right. It took a while for OG3 to find its love, if you will. It's just because it was an easy joke where it's like, it's a Halloween movie without Myers, and it's just like, well, that's kind of the point. But even so much, I mean, I don't know if you can make that exact. I mean, I know that there are those comparisons with this one, but I'm like, it's a little bit different because it's like, it's one thing to not even acknowledge the story other than the TV in that one, whereas you're in the fucking story and it's just not there.
Well, don't forget either, because this piece of information tends to, lately has freaked people out. Michael Myers is on screen in Halloween Ends for 10 minutes and 27 seconds, and in the original, he's not even in it for 10 minutes. So, the point...
I loved that you sent me that, and I liked that it wasn't even like a fuck you at the end. It was just like a, do with that information what you will.
Because some people have a different feeling on that too.
Yeah.
Like, the killer has to be in the movie the whole time, and I come from the school of Italy where, like, Suspiria, the killer's not really on screen at all, except for random times, and even the original Friday the 13th. To actually see the killer on screen for that is for that long drawn out ending that I hate, but it is what it is.
But if you haven't seen the video and you do want to see us at great lengths talk about all the spoilers and in-depth ins and outs of the movies and stuff, we highly recommend checking out that video over at the YouTubes. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Just doing some housework. Anyway,
I like how you wrote that in, and we're back at it.
We're back at it.
And also Sparrow, same. I'm a big proponent of that.
Now with the other movies that were shown this week, I kind of noticed something, and I don't know if it was intentional, but if it was, I caught it, and I appreciated it. And if it wasn't intentional, just take the compliment.
Oh wait, that blurred. I was doing the Italian hand, not the middle finger.
Oh, okay. I liked it was kind of a interesting transition to go from vampires to priests with exorcism. I'm like, you know what? Even though, like, this works. I like this little transition here.
That was some Chandler magic. For
Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
When we do the lists, he primarily he gets the final. I mean, it's his thing, so he gets final say in it. But we pick the movies and then we figure out where we want to put them in at. And most of the time we do themes and transition out of, we went full moon to vampire.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Now, be that as it may, the Vampire Night. I was heavily medicated in a Colorado state of mind, and I had flashes of these movies. And I want to ask you about the flashes that I saw of these movies, and I want you to fill in the blanks for me.
I got you.
Now, I want to start with Near Dark. This one I feel I've seen before because there was some familiarity to it. But all I remember really was I'm like, this is the Trailer Park movie. There's a lot of trailers and shit that I saw.
It's the Twilight Western vampire movie.
And
But
then was I correct in spotting Bishop? I believe his name was from Alien.
Yeah. Lance Henriksen is in it. The stepmom from Terminator 2 is in it.
Okay.
Bill Paxton. For the movie we never did that I said we were going to, Jenny Wright from Pink Floyd's The Wall is in it.
Ooh.
And then the main dude, who I can't fucking remember what he's in, was also in it because he was the main dude.
Now I remember that I did a really fat dab, and I remember seeing a scene. You remember the movie, the classic Christmas movie with Bill Murray, Scrooge, correct?
Yes, big fan.
Yeah. Now, the huge hulking kind of death figure for the third spirit that visits him in that one, right? That was the big one, right? Like the death looking one, right?
I think so.
Yeah. I remember hitting the rig and seeing something like that in a caravan going high speed and just grabbing people.
That was after the main dude got bit by Jenny Wright, and he was dying in the sun, and they were like, doink.
I was just like, this is intense.
It's sometimes I wish we were mic'd up here when we're watching them, so you guys can hear some of the weird shit that we say about it. But Near Dark is directed by Catherine Bigelow, who directed Point Break, The Hurt Locker, Zero Dark 30. So she's got some chops. She was married to James Cameron, and that's why Near Dark looks like Terminator. Because the blues at night.
Shit. Okay.
Yeah. So she comes from the James Cameron School of Filmmaking. And
what year was this again? What shit?
Near Dark is 87.
Oh, okay. Because there was, when you mentioned that, there was part of me that, like, when they show in Terminator 2, which I know was like early 90s, but when it's in the future and you see like the war going on and everything, like that kind of, I'm not saying with the robot war and everything, but just that dark atmosphere that's surrounding the battle going on and whatnot. I'm like, I thought that felt something like that in this movie.
Yeah, it highlights the importance of what's going on in front of you and that everything else around you is uncertain. Because we're going to get analytical tonight, apparently.
Now, this next one, I really want. I basically, this one I want you to sell me on, because this one I only noticed one thing in between in and outs, but this one is high on my I need to watch this right now, and that's Vamp.
That was Dee's suggestion. We put it on the list solely because he asked for it, and he showed up, and we watched it.
Okay, I saw so many familiar faces, and I felt like I was at like a reunion, and I was just going in and out of consciousness, and I'm like, oh, it's you. Oh, it's you.
It's that guy.
That guy.
It's that guy.
And then
It's
the main one that I noticed though was, if I'm not mistaken, there was a guy in it that's a reoccurring character in Seinfeld. Whenever they went down to visit Jerry's parents in Florida,
yep,
the
yep.
guy that would always argue with his dad was, I think his name was, no, wait, Morty might have been Seinfeld's dad name, but it was one of the guys in Florida in the retirement area.
Jacob informed us of that because I've never seen all of Seinfeld. So, yeah, that guy, the guy who has the best death in Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2 is in it.
Oh shit. The one that gets ripped in half, he crawls out of him or something.
Yeah, he crawls out of the main dude, and then while the parents are trying to get into the room, he sticks the knife
Yeah.
to the door. Yeah, that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Since you didn't see all of it, I won't spoil it. It's a dark comedy though,
No.
so if you want vampire strippers and you don't want to go to the titty twister in Mexico, this is the way to go.
Now, and the other one that I had, now I saw visions of this one, but I didn't see. I think the last one of the night was what, Innocent Blood.
Oh no, we went the last one. Oh, you mean before we went into the early morning hours?
Right. Now I saw. What up, Lucy? Hello.
What's up, Lucy?
I saw bits of The Hunger, but whatever played after that, I that one I didn't catch anything of.
Okay, The Hunger we'll probably need to rewatch because it was artsy fartsy, but I kind of dug it.
Well, the only thing that I remembered about that is I'm like, hey, that's the youngest I've ever seen Susan Sarandon. And then I also remember kind of in the fog, I'm like, is that Bowie?
Yeah, Bowie's in it. Susan Sarandon gets naked, and also, I never thought I had a thing for Susan Sarandon, but apparently, when she gets mixed with David Bowie, it just goes off.
I for some reason I mean, I know that she's done a ton of things. She's very famous, but for some reason I always just go back to The Client.
Yeah,
That's that. There's just like that's I'm like, that's the only thing that exists.
I like that The Client, when we were watching the movie, also came up.
Oh, good.
A lot of things also came up. Witness with Harrison Ford came up. She still hit it. Yep. But let's talk Innocent Blood, because I don't want to give anything away on The Hunger, because it was I don't think we had a miss the entire night. Innocent Blood is John Landis, the guy who did American Werewolf in London, but doing a vampire movie.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I'm already sold there.
That was kind of like a buddy cop movie too. Like it was wonderful. It was hilarious. Tom Savini was in it, which the mustache is helping here because we have a similar.
Yeah.
Dario Argento was in it in an acting role. Sam Raimi was it once that I can think of, and it was Innocent Blood. Sam Raimi was in it. Robert Loggia.
Why is this what I missed?
You know what? After it's all said and done, I'm willing to do a show on that one because it's worth it. Not to spoil it though, but top shelf. Don't know why I slept on it as long as I did. Kind of pissed off about that. It was great.
Which is good. Like, this is like I said, I'm not anti-vampire. It's just like I said, like the overly romantic angle that can be the Twilight-ness, if you will, of vampires that I'm like, I could take. I mean, it goes hand in hand. I'm not, I get it, but I'm like, it's nice to know that I'm like, oh yeah, there is some good shit.
I think it's when they get too cutesy with it though that the issue is, because sex and romanticism is sort of hand in hand with vampirism. I mean, that's just how it is. So I think it's whenever they try to they do one of two things. They either lean too romantic or they lean too sleazy on it. And we're all about balance here. So I think it needs to be 60-40, with probably 60 on the sleazy side and 40 on the romantic side. Kind of like Fright Night, where, oddly enough, Chris Sarandon, Susan Sarandon's brother, is the main vampire, and he's charming as hell. And you're like,
Wait.
Jerry Dandridge is Susan Sarandon's brother.
Okay, that's shocking, but putting the image in my head, I'm like, I can see that.
So, his character is cool. 30 Days of Night. Vampires in Atlanta. Yeah, it's a bloody movie. There's no romanticism or sex in that one. It's straight gore, and I like it. Saw that in a pretty much empty theater at one point. Fantastic. But yeah, Chris Sarandon's cool as Jerry Dangerous' vampire. I think is kind of where you want to be at with it, or even John Carpenter's vampires with their shit. It just throw James Woods in it and talk shit the whole time. I'm all for it.
When I was writing the announcement of what was gonna go down on the show tonight, like on the Twitters, I mentioned, I'm like, we're gonna be talking Halloween, we're gonna be talking Exorcist, and then I put vampires, but I had capitalized vampires, and then I was like, I don't want to get anybody too excited or angry, so I don't want them to think that we're talking about that movie. So then I'm like, I better lowercase the vampire on that one.
Probably a good idea. We're going to.
No,
next
no,
week.
I like that movie. James Wood. Come on, man, that's fucking great.
My stream had a whole inside joke because of the mahogany conversation. So I mean, like, it transcends.
Like I remember when I was 12 or 13. Now I couldn't, like I said, my stepmom is a minister, or was. She's retired, but so I'm not going to use that line on her. But the youth pastor, I did use that line on, and everybody laughed, and I was a legend. Because when you're 12 and you see that movie, that line is the gold standard for at least 2 years.
Then it'll go dormant and come right back around.
Yep.
Specifically when we watch it next Wednesday, and Thursday I wake up to 1,000 messages of James Woodsism. James Woodsism?
Woodsism. Okay,
Oh.
Because of that, I now want them to do a remake of Multiplicity, but with James Woods.
I don't think Hollywood would allow that, because I don't think James Woods is very.
I don't even think
a
camera can handle that. It would explode on set.
James Woods is one of the few people that John Carpenter, John Carpenter let him do his own lines and then do the written lines, and then they took whatever was better, and it was like 90% of it. James Woods' lines were better, so the guy has power over a lot of shit.
Well, I mean, I'm not trying to take anything away from James Woods, but how hard do you think it is to make John Carpenter laugh? Really? It's probably kind of easy.
I don't know, man. He seems
gross him out would be hard. To make him laugh, I think, would be easy.
to make him laugh and it fit his artistic vision, though. That's the tough one.
Okay, yeah, okay. Yeah, you put the bow on it. That's true.
Yeah, that's the tough one, because I get the vibe from him that he's not like I'm gonna shit all over. He's not like a Roger Waters that takes credit for everything, not realizing it's a group effort. But he has a very particular image about things, and I think you have to teeter the line. Otherwise, Big Trouble in Little China probably wouldn't be half as good as it is.
Mm-hmm. Now, sir, what could be
yes, Sparrow.
What could be said that hasn't already been said about the Exorcist films? At least these first three.
In short, the first one is a masterpiece. The director's cut's even better because we get the crab walk that's not in the theatrical cut, because Warner Brothers was like, are you fucking crazy? You're not putting that shit in there. The Exorcist 2 is a fever dream that is probably better with alcohol and drugs. And even then, if you stepped out to use the bathroom during that movie, you didn't really miss a whole lot. Because by the time we were done with it, I didn't even know what the hell happened, and I was there the entire time.
I enjoy it for. I'm not saying it is a good movie. I just enjoy it because it's just
weird.
It was one of those that I. Do you think it was kind of one of those things where they were like, all right, you need to make a sequel to this fucking crazy ass movie that you just made, and then they were just like, there's no way we're gonna be successful with that shit, so fuck it, bring on Pazuzu.
I think they took a very poignant and absolutely, I don't like to use perfect ending, but it's pretty damn close, of The Exorcist 1 and performed an abortion on it. And that's what we got with 2. They absolutely took something that I think isn't The Exorcist in like the National Archives? Like, because it is of a certain artistic importance. They took something
so.
Yeah, they took something that had artistic importance and shit all over it. I mean, like I don't try to get up in arms about worst film ever made, because I mean, fuck, I watch things for fun, and Sledgehammer because Sledgehammer's great. But worst movie of all time conversations, The Exorcist 2 is in worst movie of all time conversations. And for good reason. I mean, it's a pointless sequel. Unlike 3, which only gets a true sequel credit because they reshot all of the shit with Jason Patric's dad. Oddly enough, we didn't even realize that when we did it, that Lost Boys had Jason Patric and Jason Miller as the priest in that. That one gets the 1 and 3 is in the Library of Congress. 2 is suspiciously absent.
Awesome. All right. You know what? That if a 85% Armageddon happens, and the films in the archive survive, and there's only like just a small fraction of our species around, I'm okay with it only being 1 and 3.
I am too. And we'll get Night of the Living Dead.
I'm actually like kind of just 1 is a no-brainer. It puts a smile on my face and in my heart that 3's in there. Although I would like to ask which version.
So, and that's something we didn't do this year. We did not do the Legion cut. 1, because I didn't have time to record it, and 2, we kind of stuck to the theatrical. Most people like the theatrical cut more. I don't know if I necessarily.
I'm trying to remember. I know that there's one where like a bunch of crazy shit happens at the end, and then there's one where it doesn't really happen.
In the Legion cut that takes out Father Karras, that's the one. That's the first shot version. So, you know how great. Oh my God, how did I forget his name? Bad guy in this. Who's the bad guy in everything? Brad Dourif.
There you
go. So Brad Dourif, it wasn't a method act, or isn't a method actor. He does a different style, and I forget what it's called. Joe Bob talked about it in his Exorcist 3 talk about kind of how he prepares for the role and everything.
Wasn't he also Brackett in the Rob Zombie ones?
Yes, he was.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say.
But his first takes that he did for the Legion cut are apparently better than the ones that we got in the theatrical cut, because he had to come back later and was like, all right, just lock me in a hotel room for a couple of days. I'll get the lines done and everything, and I'll go back and reshoot it. But apparently his original cut is way better, and I want to watch it because I don't think I've actually seen it, because it takes the exorcism out of the end of it. Because the name of the movie originally was just supposed to be Legion. So.
Right. Now, which version is the one that's on Shudder?
That's the theatrical cut.
Okay, that's the one that has like the crazy shit that happens.
Yeah, that has the exorcism
Yeah,
where the priest gets stuck to the ceiling
that's
and peeled off.
yeah, that's the one that I like that version. That one, I'm just because I just it's not even the argument that an exorcism needs to be in the movie. I just think it's fucking cool.
I also like how stone cold our detective is, because Father Karras is like, "Shoot me now," and he's like, "Ah, fuck it, all right," and
Yeah,
just pumps him up. So there's every time I watch Exorcist 3, it gets better. Honestly, it's a worthy follow up to it for a couple of scenes. One, the scene. We all know what the scene is if you've seen the movie, because it gets you every time.
that scared the shit out of me the first time I saw it, and I that
The worst part about it is too, I don't consider it a jump scare because the
yeah,
suspense is actually building like a true scare, and then they do a little misdirection and get you.
yeah. I was just gonna say, I'm like, I don't feel like it's a jump scare. I understand how one could say that it is. I see that, but it doesn't feel like it to me that it's a traditional jump scare. Like there's something different about this one. No, I was just thinking that. I'm glad that you said that.
And then the other scene though is the train station with Fabio and Samuel L. Jackson and all of that. Like,
a little
oh,
magic trick.
but Billy, I'm sorry you got murdered. Like that is, it's heartbreaking, but and it's morbid and it's creepy. The whole dream sequence while he's at the train station, and then when it happens again when the priest is killed, it's just unnerving, and it does
Mm-hmm.
something that the first movie did with like the crab walk, the girl masturbating with the crucifix, like all of the stuff in the first movie that makes you uncomfortable. This one does it in a different way because I think it plays on our fears of what the afterlife might contain, and if it is a train station with Fabio, well, shit. I guess that's
I,
what we have to look forward to.
I have a I have a hard time with, and it's like I don't even know if it's fair to even have this argument, but I go back and forth on which one I think is better, one or three. And it's like part of me is like you kind of want one because like I feel like it just helps three, but I think part of the factor that fucks up my judgment is while I can truly respect one, you know, and I think you'll have something to say on this matter too, is do you agree that regardless of how amazing a movie is, if something negative that's not even associated with the movie, it could be an outside force, but if something negative happens to you during your first watch of an amazing movie, it can kind of taint how you view that movie, even
Oh
though
yeah.
it had nothing to do with the movie. So, and I'm not saying that something awful happened the first time I watched it. It's just it was the whole thing because I believe it was my mom that showed it to me, and she kept hyping it like this is the scariest movie ever made. That whole thing, and it's like, and I'm like, at the time, but it's like when I watched it, I laughed the whole time because I was trying. It was hyped up that way to me because I'm like, how is this the so? Even though I feel very differently about it now, I still can't escape that feeling. I always harken back to that whenever I watch it. Whereas three, I didn't see until I was an adult and could appreciate something like that. And I'm like, I just had an amazing. I've never had any. I love that movie. It's a
I
fucking phenomenal movie.
I'm in a strong agreement with that because as much as I respect the first one and the atmosphere of it, it's got everything. The third one I could probably rewatch tonight and I
Mm-hmm.
would feel okay with it just because there's a lot going on with it below the surface too, and it's the backstory behind it's interesting. The backstory behind the original is interesting too. It's a cursed movie, but um, the third one just has such weird out of place stuff with it too that I haven't had anything bad taint my movie experience with it. And the first time I watched it and I got to see the scene, and that sticks with you for
Mm-hmm.
eternity. but also the other weird stuff, the uncomfortable description of death. When George C. Scott and the priest are sitting in the diner and he's talking about what happened to the kid, and we had that discussion during Candyman, where the bad thing happens to the kid in that,
Mm-hmm.
and it affected us in a very upfront way. But when you listen to George C. Scott describe something that happens off camera, it just eats at you, and it just
Well,
stays
yeah.
with you, and that
That that
movie
that's
stays with you.
that's half great filmmaking, half George C. Scott just being the fucking man.
And Jess is right. The fish discussion. I mean,
Oh, the
like,
carp. That's one of people go back and forth whether it's overrated scene or not. But I fucking love that scene. That's a
I don't.
great scene.
I don't think there's a wasted scene, a non sequitur, like whatever you want to call it. It's not like we're watching things or anything where that's
Right.
all it is. There's something poignant about it, and there's something that if I had to say which the first Exorcist is a masterpiece, but my preference is the third one, and it will always be the third one, just because of discussions like that.
Now, I was going to mention this when we were discussing Halloween, but I find it actually a little bit better that we're bringing this up towards the end here. So next week we won't have a show because, sorry, kids, you boys need a rest. October is very tiring.
Enlightening, but very
Fun
tiring.
and amazing, but very tiring. So next week we won't have a show. But and I'm sure that when we do come back, we'll do a nice little recap capper on Horror Fest as a whole this year. But one thing, because you were talking about the numbers for ends, and one thing, like while looking at that, there's some interesting things here. And I'm not just talking about ends and specifically, but looking at the numbers for just this year for all the movies. All right. Now, I understand that the whole COVID thing really fucking wiped theater going experience. Like, it was just insane what happened. Like, it
Yeah.
makes sense what happened due to the circumstances, but it's crazy. Um, but if you're a horror fan, this kind of, in a weird way, gave us a clean slate for things. So looking at just 2002, from the beginning till now, uh, I think at this list, there at this on this list right now, it says there's up to 200 movies. I think there's more than 200 movies that came out this year, but it's a list of at least the top 200. Uh, Halloween Ends is number 30. Which, you're like 30 or whatever, but when you're thinking for the year and if 200 movies, 30. You know what I mean? And then, but you go up the list, and so you've got Halloween Ends. Now I'm going up, so this is top 30, but we got Halloween Ends, fucking, where was it? Smile,
Mm-hmm.
which I know is, let's see here, Scream, fucking The Black Phone. Let me see, where is it? Nope.
Nope.
And then, yeah, so like you've got all of those in the top 30. So, I understand, there's of course there's a lot of Marvel movies in here. There's the fucking the Batmans and the Jurassic Parks and whatnot. The ones that you expect to make a lot of money,
The
but
popcorn
the
movies. Yeah.
popcorn movies and stuff, but it's like it's kind of nice to know that like when they were asked to come out fucking for the genre, fans of the genre, like they went and saw their shit. it's kind of cool to have that many horror movies so far in the top kind of, I mean, I'm not sitting, let me see here. We don't got anything in the top 10, but Nope came in at 11.
That's we got we got tired of the real horrors that life was giving us during the pandemic, and we wanted something to unwind with. And I think the best way to do that is a movie that should scare you, and if it doesn't scare you, it should entertain you with suspense and stress. And Nope did it. Black Phone did it. Halloween Ends did it. I mean, we're batting pretty good right now to keep the baseball shit going.
Do you think? And I've heard this analogy before, so I'm not spouting out anything original here, but do you subscribe to the idea that because COVID happened and like a lot of bad shit happened to people, like overall, I mean, like, it just wasn't a good year or two. Do you think in times of duress, like amongst the greater portions of society, that like watching these kinds of movies is cathartic? It's like it's the right time. Like it's like kind of one of those things where like shit sucks, but it ain't that fucking bad.
I think you can get some catharsis from it. I mean, I know based on how I talk and, the discussions we have, it's like, do you watch a horror movie every day? Well, during October, yes, I do,
Yeah.
but several sometimes. But during, the rest of the year, I'll mix in a horror movie every so often. Like, I have comfort movie. Dawn of the Dead, I don't necessarily consider that's a comfort movie. So that's dark comedy, horror, action, adventure, all of that. That's one of my comfort movies. But like when Intruder got put on Shudder, if I knew that it would be on Slashix channel at 9:30 every night while they did that rotation, and I would put it on because shit was bad. But you know what? Getting half your head sawn off with a bandsaw is probably worse than what I had going on. So I'm willing to throw that on to remind myself, one, the movie's fun, and also that shit could probably be worse. So I need sometimes to get grounded that way. I don't think there's anything weird about that either. I know some people are like, how could a horror movie be a comfort film for you when, I know people that watch those weird romantic movies like Twilight or the Hallmark Channel for comfort, and I'm like, not to shit on the Hallmark Channel people. I know that that's a pretty big fandom, but I don't necessarily want to see, this is going to sound really bad. I don't necessarily want to see people succeed in things that way, because that's a horrible reminder that if you're having a day where you didn't succeed in something, the opposite end of it would be that, hey, that could happen to me. That's cool. But more than likely, the opposite of that's going to happen. Like, that didn't happen, and, I'm going to crawl back into my hole now. Whereas in a horror movie, I'm like, that didn't happen to me, and I am okay with that because I did not want to get half my head sawn in with a bandsaw. So, yeah, I think it's good, and with the performance that those movies had too, that's great. I mean, that tells you that people don't just want, popcorn movies. Black Phone in particular is not a popcorn movie. That's a thinker. I enjoyed that. Well, enjoy is a relative word because that was pretty eerie, but
yeah, I liked it. It's had that thought and then it just fucking went. Damn it!
It's it's okay. I drank the tall boy too fast, and I had a Cameron Mitchell moment where I was like,
yeah. Yeah, but no. I know that that's what I was getting at. There we go. I think also part of the big appeal for it is like, okay, you can go and watch a horror movie, and it doesn't matter if you had one of the best times of your life watching that movie, or you had one of the worst times of your life watching that fucking movie. I guarantee you, the conversations that you and your friends will have after that, watching something like that, are going to be a million times more entertaining than, say, like, when you walk out of seeing Top Gun Maverick. Not shitting on Top Gun Maverick by any means. I'm just saying, like, if you're sitting there with somebody and, like, say you watch fucking Wishmaster or something, like, you could either love that or you can fucking hate it. But then afterwards, I would much rather have the conversation where it's like, okay, how would you word your wish so nothing bad happened to you?
And you can. Is it
That's a
time for
fun
me to
time.
shit on Marvel? You can't do that with a Marvel movie because most of them are actually all of them really are derivative of works that have already been, and also they're kind of finite. There's symbolism, we'll say, yeah, but like with Halloween Ends, when y'all get around to watching the breakdown of that, there's a lot to unpack with that. And you know, I'm I've said it before, I'm a big Apocalypse Now fan, which has a lot of layers to peel back and, unwrap and all that. I can talk about that, but you know what the reason I can talk about that one is? It's a horror movie at heart in a lot of ways, because think about just how horrifying it actually is. The whole movie is, especially at the end whenever, Colonel Kurtz basically becomes a slasher villain by the end of the movie. So I would much rather talk about how to word your wish in Wishmaster, or would you give the gold to bloom back to the leprechaun, even though I'm not a big leprechaun guy? Or would you avoid Crystal Lake at all costs if you even thought about the possibility that Jason could still be out there? Would you go to Haddonfield for brunch at the bed and breakfast, or would you immediately take the highway off to go to Chicago and possibly meet the Candyman? You've got 1,000 things that you can talk about, like loving the smell of napalm in the morning with that, or you can talk about the normal. I don't think you're, even action movies, I don't think you're walking out of a Chuck Norris movie talking about what would you do in that situation, because the danger's been taken out of it. In a Steven Seagal movie, give me a fucking break. He's never been in danger. He goes over every time. So I would much rather have that conversation than any of the other ones. And we've had great ones because of that.
I just hope that it would be my hope. It probably won't happen just because I'm a cynic at heart, I guess. But I would hope that studios would take notice of that and just be like, I know we kind of shit on these movies and we kind of only throw them out if we have to, but these fuckers show up. Like, like I said, I liked the, as bad as the theaters have been hit because of everything. Like I said, it kind of gave things a clean slate to, like, all right, let's look at numbers. You know what I mean? So it showed, man. Like I said, over 200 movies, and we've got this many in the top 30. That, in a day where, some didn't have a fucking cape or a dinosaur. Well, some of them had dinosaurs, I guess, but
Dinosaurs.
It's an interesting. I've seen trailers for that one trailer I posted in the Discord. Fucking something in the dirt. I don't know if that's serious or a comedy or some sort of hybrid of both, but visually, that shit looks fucking fascinating to me. So I just hope that people will notice it and just be like, maybe we can take a chance on that weird rubber monster movie.
Well, if they're willing to put Dawn of the Dead 1978 in 3D out in the theaters for a 4-day run, and watch as everybody's like, holy shit, I have the opportunity to see that. They do the same thing with Halloween every year. Now I think you can see Halloween 1, 2, 4, and 5 in theaters. That's awesome. Bring back the old ones as a temperature check, and maybe we can start getting more. Maybe we will go into the next coming of the exploitation film.
I'll tell you right now, it just kind of popped into my head. Going back to the whole fun conversations you can have, and I'll leave it on this. What would you do if you had a $5 million budget and it was your task to make the big Hollywood version of Tartarus. First off, I'm calling Brad Pitt.
I was gonna call Chris Pratt just to piss everybody off, but
I almost said Chris Pratt, but I honestly think that Brad Pitt would do great in that.
Actually, and I can't believe I'm making this comparison, so Lord forgive me, for I have sinned. Christian Bale could do that role because The Machinist is kind of similar in plot to Tartarus, which I can't believe I get to make that comparison. But with that $5 million budget, I'd probably spend $1 million on alcohol and weed. I'd film it in a Colorado state for that, just to get through the filming, and then, we'll see what happens. I don't think... can I just say this and not be judged for it? I don't think Tartarus as a plot, if you want to say it has one, is necessarily bad. It's just what happens when you do a DIY movie with not enough skill to put it together. And your actors are not very good. And you've probably never seen a drug in real life before, because that drug buying scene still makes no sense to me.
I don't think I've reached double-digit viewings of that movie, but I'm pretty fucking close.
Is that your things?
It might be. It might be. That's the movie where, like, if all else fails, and I really want to see some wild interpretations and facial expressions, put that movie on. Or if I'm just by myself and need a laugh.
I already send you a copy of Jungle Trap just for the lulz for that one. And you know what, though? Speaking of, I know we talked about it a couple weeks ago. I've stewed on Don't Go Into the Woods Alone, or Alone Don't Go Into the Woods, depending on which title you want to go with. The guy actually knows how to film a movie. He just needs to have the budget to do it. Because, holy shit, Jungle Trap was bad.
Well, sir, what do we got going on tonight? Because I believe, from every description I've heard of this is potentially, we might, I'm not going to guarantee it, but we might have something here.
We might have something? I don't know. Tonight, and I'll do a, because we're running a little late, I'll do a recap for what we're doing for the next week too.
Yes.
2 weeks, because we don't have a show next week. Tonight we have Evil Dead Trap, not to be confused with The Evil Dead or Evil Dead. It is a Japanese movie that I've heard is in the same vein as Videodrome. And if you know anything about me, Videodrome is my favorite Cronenberg movie besides his non-horror ones. So we'll see. It's about a person who receives a strange tape from a video, or receives a strange tape from a TV station, I should say. So we shall see.
What's
then
TV station? No.
Oh, God. You know, if I ever put my live show together and I get on a single TV station, that'll be the one. We'll just cross that off the list because it ain't getting better from there.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, we have our Italian Exorcist night. So we have the Beyond the Door series with Beyond the Door 1, which is a Exorcist ripoff. Beyond the Door 2, a.k.a. Shock, which we've reviewed for the show already. Mario Bava's last movie before he passed. I liked it. It also has a Exorcist 3 level scare that, if you haven't seen it yet, I will not spoil it, but it's worth it. Don't watch the trailer because they ruined the money shot in the trailer. And then Beyond the Door 3, which takes place in Yugoslavia. Not making that up. It's an Exorcist movie in Yugoslavia, filmed by Italians.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
And then Friday, it's Joe Bob night.
That's right. It's the Halloween special. That's right.
Is it the Halloween Hoedown? I can't remember what.
No, Halloween Hangout.
Hangout. With Cassandra Peterson, not Elvira.
Not Elvira. Okay, yeah, that's right. But known as Elvira. But yes, her, just not Elvira self.
I don't know what he's going to do. They haven't released clues yet, but I'm hoping we get one Dario Argento movie since they just premiered Dark Glasses on there.
I'm wondering, because I was going to ask you, because I haven't seen any clues either, but I'm wondering if the image had anything to do with it, because it looked like Joe Bob was wearing some sort of like druid cult like black cloak with some symbols and shit on it, and I was wondering if maybe that rang any bells.
Halloween 6.
Just for the fuck, was she? Yeah, well, why not? I mean, Darcy was in Halloween Ends, and that just all right. I'd buy it.
It's not Halloween 3. I know that much.
Yeah,
She already made us cry. But it's gonna be fun. I guarantee you. So when if you watch it at home and you don't watch it on the stream with us, pay attention when the bar at the bottom comes up, because you can find out how long the stream actually is. That was how the opening night we were like of the last season, we were like, Jesus Christ, this is 6 hours fucking long. So we might have a late night. We'll see. After we have had our hangover with Joe Bob, though, it is Sci-Fi Saturday 4, the return of Sci-Fi Saturday, with War of the Worlds, the 1953 version.
fuck yeah.
The Fly, the 1958 version. Videodrome. Pitch Black. We threw a little Vin Diesel in because we're about family here.
I don't know if I
Midnight.
ever saw Pitch Black. I know I saw Riddick in fucking theater, but I don't think I ever saw Pitch Black.
I might have to get your help with Pitch Black, by the way. Midnight going into Sunday, we have Creature from 1985, which I'm excited about because I think it's a Vinegar Syndrome release, so you know it's going to be good. And then at 2 a.m., because this is the perfect time to watch it, the McPherson tapes. We're bringing it to the Horror Fest for the first time.
Drunk Grandma.
Drunk Grandma. Then we're off Sunday because we got to recover from our semi up all night. But don't go to bed early on Monday or Sunday, because Monday midnight we're playing Midnight, which we have also already reviewed.
Oh, that's the one with my MVP of the year still, right?
Yes, that you felt bad about being your MVP, because you should feel bad, and I feel bad, but you're absolutely right.
I have still yet to see anything that tops it for the year so far. That's right. He's still my MVP for the year. Yeah.
So we said if we don't play it at midnight, it would kind of be a waste. So we're playing it at midnight. Then
I always remember the character. I can just never remember the name of the movie.
well,
not the name of the character, but I remember the character and the way the movie looked. I just can never remember it's midnight.
I feel like we should have done it and Effects back to back, because the Pittsburgh movies all have that look to them. Although Innocent Blood's technically a Pittsburgh movie. That's why Tom Savini's in it. Go figure. But Monday the 24th, that night, we have Wolfen and Poltergeist.
The OG one, right?
The OG one. We're not
Craig T. Nails. You know, like I said, I didn't actually dislike that newer one, but facts are facts. I mean, come on, I always choose Craig T. Nelson.
Well, Ian, I got bad news. We're not doing Night of the Living Dead 1990. That may be a bonus movie at some point, though, or a post movie. We are doing the 1968 one because we got the 4K cut.
Oh, of course, yeah. There you go.
So it's gonna look good. So we're gonna play that for you. Followed by
we spoiled ourselves with the 90s one like that. I mean, we've done that a lot because we love it a lot. So
we love it a lot. But that I still stand that we're gonna do Zombie Work Print Night, and we're gonna do Return of the Living Dead's work print and Night of the Living Dead's work print and actually review them. So we're gonna get there eventually. Just not this month because holy shit. Tuesday night, the 25th, we have Shaun of the Dead.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Followed by Lucio Fulci's Zombie, because we also got the 4K cut of it, and it looks fantastic, so we're passing the love. They actually updated it on Shudder. It's the new scan. So.
Oh, good.
And then at midnight, the Return of the Living Dead, because Trash is taking off her clothes again.
Always.
Always. Then begins our John Carpenter double day with John Carpenter's Ghosts of Mars, which is just a horror remake of Assault on Precinct 13
Yeah.
on Mars with Ice-T.
Starman.
I'll be wearing my Tarman shirt for that, or my zombie shirt. I don't know. Followed by John Carpenter's Vampires, followed by John Carpenter's
Christine, perfect timing.
Um,
And then yeah, there you go. Yeah.
The Fog at Midnight, which we're gonna for our return.
That's some Notre Dame shit right there. I'm just saying.
I'm not setting up the end of the world, but yes, I am weird. Thursday the 27th, John Carpenter's They Live, followed by The Thing, followed by Prince of Darkness, followed by In the Mouth of Madness. Holy shit, that's a good run. Then at midnight, we have a supernatural ski lodge movie with the chill factor, which is kind of cool. I like that title. Friday the 28th, The Evil Dead, followed by Evil Dead 2, followed by Army of Darkness, followed by Evil Dead.
Gotta have the chin.
Gotta have the chin. And then at midnight, we were supposed to have the Japanese Evil Dead. It's actually called Japanese Evil Dead. The translated title is Bloody Muscle Bodybuilder in Hell.
Okay.
Go figure. But unfortunately, I don't think we're going to have a copy of that in time, so we are looking for a replacement movie. I will let everybody know what that is as soon as I know what it is. And then Saturday the 29th, we got something for the kids.
I was just about to say, I'm like, this is the only part of the time where I could have the boys come in.
The Halloween Tree, Hocus Pocus, Hocus Pocus 2. Then the kids can leave because Idle Hands is going to come on, and that is not a kids movie.
Yeah.
It's so 90s it hurts.
Mm-hmm.
Followed by Trick or Treat, not the Ozzy Osbourne movie, unfortunately, at midnight. And then at 1:45 a.m., the Monster Squad, because the Wolfman's got nards.
Speaking of which, because you mentioned Idle Hands, I just wanted to say, again, if you're not following Devin Sawa on fucking Twitter, you're missing out, because that dude is fucking hilarious. I love his fucking tweets. And he posted this picture the other day, and he's wearing these like crazy fucking glasses and stuff. And what the fuck was he? Oh, he was joking around, and he was saying that he wanted to be. He was throwing his hat in the ring for a possible next Bond. I said I complimented the glasses, but honestly, I'm like, honestly, dude, if you ever wanted to get yourself into the superhero flicks, I could see him being a good Scarecrow against Batman.
That would be good.
Just saying. I'm just saying. And a couple people like that comment. So just saying.
He could be Scarecrow, and John Hamm can be Hush. Perfect.
I like that.
Well, Sunday the 30th, we are off. However, if you are in an area that's playing it, we are going to see Dawn of the Dead 3D in theaters. Average show times are at 7 p.m. So see if you guys can come out, and then we can all talk about seeing the head explode in 3D, because that's probably going to be awesome. Monday the 31st, our last 24 hour of the Horrorthon, where we will begin.
Hot damn. I'm just looking at it. I'm like, hot damn.
Halloween 6, the producer's cut. Followed by Halloween by Rob Zombie, followed by Halloween 2 by Rob Zombie. We're getting the stuff that, well, I like the producer's cut, but we're getting some stuff out of the way first to get to the goods. Followed by Halloween H2O, followed by Resurrection. Then at 6 p.m. we get into the goods. We will be watching Halloween the extended cut.
I was about to say, I'm thinking about it. Damn. Okay, no, go ahead.
Halloween the extended cut, followed by Halloween 2, followed by Halloween 4, followed by Halloween 5, followed by the theatrical release of Halloween 6, followed by at 4 a.m. because I can't think of a better movie for the sun to come up to, fucking Halloween 3, and then at 6 we are going to watch the regular Halloween. I think we're gonna pull the latest 4K scan for that because it does look different between cuts to take us home for the month of October.
I was gonna say that's what I was gonna say before. I was just waiting for you to get to it again because I was really. Oh, it's the only movie that's like multiple watches throughout the fest, but slightly different cuts each time. But also, I'm like, it's the only one that I would allow to be. I have no qualms watching this movie.
What we figured out was that on disc alone we have at least 3 different scans of the movie. So you have the original color timing, which was the Anchor Bay color timing, so the colors are a little brighter. Then you have a regular 4K cut that I can't remember who put it out. But it doesn't look quite as good. They did wash the color a little bit. And then you have the brand new cut that came out that, holy shit, the greens on the ground pop out like you could actually reach out and touch the grass. It's not fully washed. The shadows are fixed because they corrected the black color levels on the movie the way they actually needed to, courtesy of Dean Cundy actually coming in and supervising the cut. Thank you, Mr. Cundy, for doing that because it looks fantastic. So we're going to end on a high note, and then we all can get some sleep. If the chair doesn't take me over first, because there's a chance.
Thus, another harvest comes to the end.
Does that mean we're done for November, though?
Oh, fuck no.
No, because we had stuff that didn't make the cut that we want to show you anyway, so we will probably be continuing into November, just not on the scale that we did. One that didn't make the cut that I absolutely wanted to watch was Beyond the Darkness, which was the necrophiliac love story that I thought we were going to get with the Joe Bob special that one time. So, and it has the awesome Goblin soundtrack. I suggested it to Jess. So, yeah, they use it in Contamination. They use part of it in Contamination. It's very weird that they reused that soundtrack there, but it's good. So, that's all I have now.
Then you will slumber for a good while.
Yes, I will hibernate. It is a good soundtrack. I actually fall asleep to the Contamination soundtrack and Beyond the Darkness soundtracks from time to time because Quiet Drops, the piano theme, is so soothing.
What time should we get Evil Dead Trap going?
I've got a 9:30 start time. We'll leave it at that
perfect.
for now.
Right.
The doors will open at 9:30, probably start at 9:35, but be there at 9:30 in case we start in the gap there. It's not that long. I don't think it's that long of a movie, so not too bad. But I got to step out and get dinner and also breathe in some fresh air because it's hot in this room. I didn't realize it until just now that I
probably got the heat on.
It's 45 degrees out, so yeah, it's probably a good call.
All right. Well, I hope you all enjoyed the show. Like I said, no show next week, but we will be back after that. Once again, if you haven't checked out our deep dive into Halloween Ends, check it out on our YouTube. And if you ever miss anything, all our clips and shit go there from all our past shows and stuff. It's gaining traction, man. Every time I look at it, it's fucking Green Arrows on the ups. So that's fucking good. Oh shit. I double dipped. Hold on.
Jess, I'm glad you made it. And I'm glad you made it on a night that Vox came out and hung out with us too.
Want to give major thanks once again to our good friend Vox for coming out and giving us his peace of mind and some voice acting. Always good to have Vox around. Have a good night, everybody. I will see you next time.